Anyway, Imam al-Ghazali considered it a fard ayn. Now, he says here, منها ذلك من رزق قلبا سالما وليس لازم ذلك من رزق قلبا سالما. It's not necessary for a person who was given a sound heart. Because other than Imam al-Ghazali, some of the ulama say that if they had a qalb salim, if they were just born with a good heart, they don't have to learn this stuff because they don't have problems with it. Now, Imam al-Ghazali said no. He said these diseases are ghara'iz. Ghariza is instinctual. It's something part of our nature. Instinctual, ghara'iz. What he's saying is Imam al-Ghazali considered the disease of the heart to be inherent to the human condition. You can already see them manifesting in children. Greed, avarice, hatred. Little children will say, I hate you. They learn it. And at that moment, that's what they feel. I mean, thank goodness it doesn't, last, but at that moment, that's what they're feeling. So you can see already in children these diseases showing up. Now, what does it mean then that all children are born into fitrah? Right? Because that's obviously the question that arises from that. And if that's the case, do we believe in original sin, which is the Christian concept that people are corrupt by nature? And this is a kind of idea. In other words, there's a corruptibility here in our nature. Now, the difference between the Muslims, we would say that there is an inclination to this, and it is instinctual. And this is what Imam al-Ghazali is saying. The difference between the Muslims and the Christians is that we do not believe in any way it's a result of Adam alayhi salam's wrong action, what they would say his khati'ah, al-khati'at al-ula in Christian Arabic theology, the original sin. Because we don't believe that Adam alayhi salam did anything to bring on the wrath of Allah, that he fell, he slipped, he forgot, he didn't have a azam according to the Quran, alayhi salam, he's a prophet. He made tawbah to Allah and Allah accepted his tawbah, and therefore there was nothing, he had no blemish. And so his offspring do not suffer from that at all. That's what we would say. But the fact that there are instincts, then what does that mean? Well, this relates to the black area of the heart. In other words, inside the heart's a spiritual organ, and inside the heart, I don't know how big it is, but there's a black dot in the heart. Now, I don't know if I've never seen it physiologically described, so I'm going to assume it's probably an unseen reality. But it's there, it's in the heart. And what that is a seed. There is a seed in the human heart that has the potential of becoming like a cancer and overwhelming the heart. Most people don't know it, but they've actually, many people in the world have tuberculosis, right? They have a bacillus in their lung, but it's dormant. And if they were exposed or if they were in a situation where they began to get ill and starve or their immune system goes down, then the tuberculosis emerges. In a sense, it's like that. There's a dormant element in the human heart that, if nurtured, will destroy the human being. And this is why there's a hadith, if Ibn Adam does something wrong, a black spot appears in the heart. Right? Nuqta soda or nukta soda. And if the person makes tawbah, it gets erased. But if he doesn't, continues on, it grows until the whole heart becomes pitch black. And then and this is like when somebody, a'udhu billah, loses their humanity. And we call it hard-hearted. And even in the African dialects, and because I asked a Hausa man this, I said, how do you express somebody who has a really bad heart? And he told me in the Hausa, and I said, what's it mean? He said, black-hearted. So, Hausas are dark-skinned, so this is not like a racist type thing. It's just something, obviously, black is the word being used, and it's the word used also in the Quran, right? And the tabyad, wujuhuhum with taswad wujuhum, the faces become white. It does not mean white like white skin. It means light. There's a light, and the absence of that light is a darkness, which is why a black person can have light in their face, and the white person can have a completely dark face, and vice versa. So this is about spiritual entities. It's not about skin colors and things like that. I just wanted to emphasize that point. So what he's saying is then that Imam al-Ghazali considered it such, fil adami, in the Adamic nature, وَسِوَاهُ غَالِبَ فِيهِ رَآهَا لَا سِجَايَ لَازِبَ or لَازِمَ. What he's saying is Imam al-Ghazali considered it to be part of the Adamic nature, whereas other scholars considered it to be predominant in man. In other words, most people have these qualities, but not necessarily everybody. And this is the difference. So some people, they're just good. I mean, you can see children that they're altruistic. They share. This is not the norm, but there literally are children that aren't greedy about toys. They'll actually share with other children. They don't have a problem, right? I mean, it's not the norm, but they do exist, and this is the point, is that some hearts, for some reason, for whatever secret that is, they are like that. So Imam al-Ghazali, and then he said, وَعْنَ بِأَنَّ الْمَحْوَ حَتَّى لَا أَثَرْ لَهُنَّ يَبْقَى لَيْسَ فِي طَوْقَ الْبَشَرِ. He's saying that you have to know that to remove these diseases until there's nothing left is not in the human capacity. And this comes from the ayah in the Quran, وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. The one who has wiqaya or protection from the evil of his soul is from the people of success. And the fact that Allah said, وَمَنْ يُوقَ, the one who is protected from the evil of his soul, he is the one who has success. Allah didn't say, وَمَنْ يُزَالُ شُحُّ نَفْسِهِ, the one, or مَنْ يُزِيلُ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ, the one who removes that shuh, or who the shuh is removed from, is success. No, it says the one who's protected from it. So again, it's like that tubercle, it's like that bacillus that's there in the heart. But if you're protected from it, it never goes into tuberculosis. It's only dormant. Mm-hmm. Right, that was taken out of the Prophet ﷺ's heart. Now, about fitra, what then does fitra mean? When we say in the hadith, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ وُلِدَ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ, every child is born on fitra. You see, Muslims always translate that for some reason. In English, when they translate it, every child is born a Muslim. It does not say that. It doesn't say that. It says every child is born in fitra, which is not the same as in Islam. Although Islam is called in the Quran Deen al-Fitra, right? Fitrat Allah allati fatara an-nas alayha. It is the fitra. Islam is fitra. What does that mean? It means we're naturally inclined to it. So fitra is the inherent nature that human beings are naturally inclined to. And what the human being is naturally inclined to is to goodness. In other words, if you take a human being and you raise them correctly and nurture them, they will incline towards the truth. But they also have the qabiliyah, or the susceptibility to go astray. So what the fitra state is it's either or. It's either or. Now obviously there's going to be things that affect the fitra state. One of them is parents, states of parents, legitimacy, right, in terms of the birth. Even though there's no fault according to the Sharia on the child, there is an effect that illegitimacy does have in the unseen realm, which is confirmed by several hadiths. So there are, and this is why it's important for people before they have children to choose righteous. If there wasn't a reality to the parents, there'd be no meaning to choosing righteous people as mates, right? For a man, you're supposed to look for taqwa, and for the woman, you're supposed to look for deen, right? One of the salaf said, don't marry your daughter except to a taqi, because if he loves her, he'll show her ihsan, goodness, and if he doesn't like her, he won't oppress her. So taqwa is something you're supposed to look for, and the point being is that when you marry, you have to think of future generations. And so you want the children to be raised properly, and so parents are important that they have on Ash-Shafi. Bring you something that's enough. It'll be enough for you. Min haddiha wal asli wal ashafi. Of these diseases from their etiology, their root, how they got caused, and how to cure them. And so he begins with bukhul. Now bukhul, the reason he's beginning with bukhul is not because it's the worst, but because he's going by alphabetical order. And bukhul is the first one. Bukhul, the bakhil is a miser. Bukhlun is miserliness. The bakhil is, he's going to give the definition. So he says, فَمِنْعُ مَا يَجِبُ شَرْعًا أَوْ مُرُوءَةً هُوَ الْبُخْلُ لَذَايَ يُذْكَرُ. To begin with, the refusal to give what is necessary either by sacred law or by virtuous merit is the essence of miserliness, bukhl. That is mentioned among the diseases of the heart. Now, what he's saying here is there's two aspects to bukhl. One is one that relates to the sacred law, sharia. That's hukum shar'i, the legal judgment that the sharia gives. The other is what's called muru'ah. And muru'ah is a very important Arab concept that comes from actually the word for man. Chivalrous, manly, virtuous, right? Virtuous. So in the Arabic pre-Islamic culture, muru'ah was a very important concept. The closest thing that we have to it is chivalry, probably. If you know anything about European history and the knights of chivalry, this idea of acting virtuously because of chivalry, the muru'ah, the expectation on you to do that. So he's saying the first one is related to sharia rights, like zakat. فَالْوَاجِبُ الشَّرْعِيُّ كَالزَّكَاةِ. Right? وَالنَّفَقَاتِ. You're not, it's not giving women child support. It's sharia. It's a sharia right of a woman to get child support. Or حقوق الناس, the nas. Nas is a word for nas. حقوق الناس are the rights of people. There's haqq. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about the people who وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ. There's a right, or حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. In their wealth is a haqq, is a right to the sa'il, the beggar, and the one who doesn't have money. His needs aren't taken care of. Right? So the miser is the one who doesn't take care of people who's able to. And those are related to sharia. And there's a hadith, فِي الْمَالِ حَقٌّ سِوَى الزَّكَاةِ, and some of them translated that there's different interpretations, because there's another hadith that says لا حق في المال إلا زكاة, you know, أو كما قال, there's only zakat is the only haqq, but generally there is a haqq in wealth, nafaqat, and these different things. So if you don't give them, you're a bakhil. Now, in terms of muru'ah, this would relate to those things that a bakhil, well, he's actually going to go into some detail about this. So he says, for instance, as an example of the other ones, تَرْكُ الْمُضَايَقَاتِ فِي الْمُحْتَقَرِ, right? Or فِي الْمُحَقَّرِ. It's not being ضيق. It's not constricting somebody or making things difficult, right? Examples are not giving people a hard time over some paltry matter. In other words, you know, somebody owed you $10, and you know, you have plenty of money, you don't have any needs, and you start giving them a hard time over it. You know, you owe me $10, I've been waiting for you to pay it a long time, and It's no big deal, right? It's a muhaqqar. It's something insignificant. If you do that, then that's a bakhil. By muru'ah. Not by sharia, because you have a right by sharia. He owes you the money. But by muru'ah, by virtuous merit, it's something that's really despicable. And then he says another example is وَتَرْكُ الْإِسْتِقْصَاءِ فِيهِ أَحْرَى, right? مِنْ جَارٍ أَوْ قَرِيبٍ أَوْ مِنْ أَثْرَى. So he's saying that leaving nitpicking, abandoning nitpicking over trivialities, right? Avoiding such things, unfortunately didn't put those right. Avoiding such things is even more important for a neighbor, a relative, or a wealthy person, right? So that's what it says. So, for instance, getting nitpicky over trivialities, right? Things that aren't really important. And this is especially true if you're the neighbor of the person, or you're a relative of the person, or if you're wealthy. It's even worse if you're wealthy. Nitpicky wealthy people, right? Because a wealthy person should have a type of rahab, a type of magnanimity, a generosity of being that they don't worry about it. It's no big deal. And there's a hadith that there's a man who was a wealthy man, and he didn't have any hasanat, except that he used to say to people, his servant, when he'd go out, tell him to collect money, he'd say, if they don't have it, just tell them not to worry about it. See, that's what he's saying there. That's muru'ah. And he died, according to the hadith, on Yom Qiyamah, Allah says to him, to his angels, this man was forgiving of people's transgressions against him, and I'm more worthy of forgiving transgressions. In other words, if he's going to forgive his debts, then I'll forgive his debts. So that's a sign that this is not an insignificant thing. It's a big thing. And if somebody's wealthy, it's encouraged to let go of debts that they really don't need. If they see the person's having a hard time, just say Bismillah. Don't worry about it. Things like that. That's encouraged by Sharia. No. Then it's despicable from them. You see what I mean? In other words, if the person borrowing it has money, they're bakhil as well. What are they doing borrowing money? And there's rich people that do borrow money. Right? That's how a lot of them get rich. Like the hedge fund people, right? Those guys made billions, and they lost billions, but they made it because their buddies shored them up, right? Gave them all that money. And that's big. That's called bi' al-gharar in Sharia. What they were doing, completely haram. And it's like the worst type of the leveraging, what they do. It's unbelievable. The thing is so haram. And because haram, there's a continuum of haram, and that's way down there. Likewise, if one is buying a sacrificial animal, or doing something, hosting guests, you don't get picky about if your guest spills something on the floor. You don't start saying, can't you watch yourself a little bit? That's a brand new carpet I have. There's no muru'ah there. You're supposed to make him feel, no, don't worry about it. I love tea on my carpet. Right? That's the Afghanis, I heard, have a proverb. They say the best thing for a carpet is spilt tea, right? That's obviously to make the guest feel good when he spills the tea, because they say no, and they say the proverb, and it's okay, alhamdulillah. So the point is, you don't worry about it, and that's muru'ah, right? It's showing meritorious virtue. And so he says also, like buying a funeral shroud. You're buying a funeral shroud. You start haggling over the price, right? It's just inappropriate, because it should remind you of death, and so you forget about dunya. Really, that's the point. So he's saying it's inappropriate. Or a sacrificial animal. You want to get something good for Allah. And you start saying, no, that's too much for that or this and that, right? Things like that. Or purchasing something you want to donate to needy people, right? You should want to get something that's good and not something cheap. So looking for something cheap, there's bukhl in that. Trying to get a bargain on something for sadaqah or something for Allah is bukhl. And there was a short story written by E.J. Cullen called How Some People Feel About Jesus. It was a brilliant short story, but it was about a rummage sale for the church. They're always having rummage sales, like to support the church. And he said that for him it was kind of like he realized that That's what they cared about, the church, so much that they're going to sell their worst junk to support it. Right? And really that's important in Islam, the idea. And that's why it was really kind of shocking that some Muslim mosques start having these like rummage sales and things like that for the mosque. I mean, that's a bad sign. Because you should give the mosque the best thing that you have, not the worst thing. Not the stuff you want to get rid of. Right? I mean, it's a bad sign. So, then he says, وَمَنْ يُضَايِقُ من المضايقة في حقه كالجار غير لائقة هتك أستار المروءة كما قال أجلاء الهداة الحكماء. That the one who gives a hard time for somebody who his right makes it inappropriate, like a neighbor, then he in fact has torn away the veils of dignity of his muru'ah. And this is as the majestic and wise guides have stated. In other words, the ulama have told us this. And then he says, كَمَنْ يُؤَدِّي الْوَاجِبَاتِ دُونَ طَيِّبَةِ نَفْسٍ أَوْ يَؤُمُّ الدُّونَ. Like somebody who is fulfilling his obligations without good cheer. So here's your zakat. You know, you're supposed to actually put your hand down, let them take, their hand should be on top. You should do it with smiling face and feel like it's an honor to do that. And they're honoring you by letting you fulfill the haqq of Allah. And also, Ya'um Aduna, trying to find spending from the least of what he possesses for it. Now, so there he gives you the definition. So bukhl has two types. Bukhl which is shar'i and bukhl which is muru'ah. And they're both considered in Islam because karam, generosity, is one of the highest qualities of our Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In fact, it could be stated after his rahmah, inna akramakum 'inda Allah atqakum. He was the most atqa of us. And so he was the most generous, the most noble. And kareem means generous and noble. So the Arabs see it also as nobility, right? Nobility. And Allah is al-kareem. He's the generous. So it's really important to recognize that it's not just enough to be doing what the Sharia tells you, but also to go above and beyond that by showing generosity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, he gives us its etiology, the origin. وَأَصْرُهُ حُبَّ الدُّونَ لِذَاتِهَا أَوْ لِتَنَالَ النَّفْسُ مِنْ لَذَّاتِهَا. The origin of this is love of dunya. The reason you're a bakhil is because you love the stuff you're bakhil with. If you didn't love it, it's no big deal. Bismillah. No big deal. But the fact that you love it, you want to hold on to it. And then another thing about, another word for bakhil is mumsik. Mumsik, right? In Spanish culture, Mexican, they say coda, you know? They go like that. It means like he doesn't have a hand to give out. He got cut off at the elbow, right? He's cheap. So he's just got an elbow. So the mumsik is somebody in Arabic. It means also constipated. And the idea is that they're unable to let go of what is actually beneficial to let go of. So the idea is that, if you don't give out of your wealth, it'll kill you. It'll poison you. And that you have to let it go. And that's why imsak is miserliness. And also, the root word for gold, pure gold, iqyan, is iqi, which is the meconium stool of an infant. So gold is related to feces, and there is a relation to it, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad radiallahu anhu, he said that جعل الله ما يخرج من ابن آدم مثلا للدنيا أو كما قال. Allah has made what comes out of the son of Adam as a metaphor for the dunya. You see, in other words, ultimately the dunya is like feces. You eat it, it's all beautiful and good food and everything, and in the end, it just comes out smelling and unpleasant, and nobody wants it around. And so the height of dunya is gold, and gold is like that. And the desire to hold on to it is like somebody who can't let go of his feces, which is why zakat is also considered the feces of your wealth. It's fadaratul amwal, which is why Bani Hashim can't take it. Bani Hashim, the Prophet's family, cannot take zakat. It's actually considered like the filth of your wealth. It purifies your wealth because everybody who earns money will always have shubuhat or muharramat in their wealth. There's always doubtful matters. And by giving zakat, it's like you're purifying your wealth in the same way that when you eat food, there's benefit and there's harm in the food. Hopefully, the body absorbs the benefit and removes the harm. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ in the dua of coming out of the toilet, the gha'iq, he said, Alhamdulillah alladhi razaqani ladhatahu wa abqa fiyya quwwatahu wa adhhab anni adahu. Praise be to the one who has provided me with its delight, the taste of it, the good of it, and retained in me its benefit, its strength, the energy derived from food, وَأَذْهَبَ عَنِّي أَدَاهُ, and removed from me its harm. And so this is the same idea with zakat. What you're doing is Allah's helping you to remove what's harmful from your wealth. In the same way that the bakhil, if he holds on to it, it harms him in the end. And Imam Ali radiallahu anhu said, he said the worst person is the bakhil. Because he said in dunya, he suffers, he's mahroom. And in akhirah, he's mu'azzab. You know, he's punished in the akhirah. So in dunya, he doesn't even benefit from his wealth. There was an article in, I think Discovery or one of these magazines, about hidden millionaires in America. And they were just talking about how there's all these people in America that live these middle-class lives, and they've got millions of dollars in the bank. And what they were saying in there is, you know, they don't want to spend the money because they want to save it. And so the point is, that's the nature of the bakhil. He doesn't benefit from his wealth in the dunya, and then in the akhirah he's punished for hoarding it. So it's horrible. It's a terrible thing. And the Prophet ﷺ, Jadd ibn Qais, who was one of the munafiqeen, the Prophet ﷺ asked who was the Sayyid of this tribe, and they said, oh, Jadd ibn Qais, illa nastabkhiluhu, except he's a little bit of a miser. And the Prophet said, he can't be your Sayyid. The Sayyid can't be a miser. And he said, وَهَلْ هُنَكَ دَاءٌ أَدْوَى مِنَ الْبُخَلِ? Is there any disease you know that's worse than bukhal, than miserliness? He said, he's not your Sayyid. So the point is that you can't be a Sayyid if you're a bakhil. So he said that the origin is either love of dunya or for its own sake, just simply because it's dunya, or because the self wants some benefit from the dunya. Now, according to Ibn Hazm, he would probably say that one of the benefits that the self is trying to get by hoarding wealth would be to alleviate the fear of poverty. So in other words, just the fact that he's got millions in the bank makes him feel good, even though he's not benefiting from it. And that is assuaging his hala', his anxiety, because خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ هَلُوعًا, right? So he feels good. But the amazing thing about it is these people never feel good, because they're always worried about, oh my God, the stock index, NASDAQ, look at that. Well, what's going to happen? You know, they're pacing up and down. I'm only worth $6 billion now. I was worth 12, like Soros, right? I was worth $5 billion yesterday. I'm only worth $4 billion today, right? He's 70 years old, right? Even if he set out to spend $1 million every day, he wouldn't finish it for the rest of his life, right? And it's unbelievable. So these people, it's a deep disease. Well, that's ultimately, it is a type of worshipping of money. Abdul Dinar, ta'asani Abdul Dinar wa dirham. How wretched is the servant of the dinar and the dirham. So it is, ultimately that's what it is. Trusting in the almighty dollar, like they say. And they actually call it the almighty dollar. Can you believe that? And one day, boy, when it crashes, might be sooner than we think, too, the way things are going. What's that? Yeah, and actually his book's been translated into English. It's a brilliant book. It's called In Pursuit of Virtue. It's a good translation, too. In Arabic, it's called Mudawat an-Nufus. He's really worth reading. It's a brilliant book. And it's about this subject.